What a game in San Diego on Monday night. A playoff-like game between the Mets and the Padres. The Mets fall in what is a frustrating loss, but one you can stomach a little bit. 7-6. They have the grand slam from Mark Vientos on the day we're all talking about. He's getting traded this week. He goes out there and hits what should have been a home run that Fernando Tatis robs. And then his next at-bat, he hits a grand slam to put the Mets up 5-1. Montas starts to implode. Brazoban comes in and implodes. Brazoban doesn't cover first base fast enough, and that was the game. You know, if Brazoban covers first there, the Mets probably win this game fairly easily, but because Brazoban hesitated, and I don't know why, like you learn that in spring training, get to the bag, run to first base, those are drills you learn on day one. He stopped. You could see Alonso was pissed, and you know he was mad at Brazoban because he made a great play and finally made a good throw. That's not on Pete there. That's on Brazoban, and he imploded, and was left in the game too long. Gibbons was taken over as manager. I love that Mendoza defended Soto. I love that the Mets said Soto get out of the way and kind of made sure they could not have him toss from that game. He's too good. But terrible umpiring from home plate. But otherwise, you know, a really good game, a playoff-like game. You could stomach that loss after you won 7 in a row and the Phillies lost to the White Sox. Yes, it would have been nice to make it a 2.5-game lead, but you saw some good signs from Vientos. And again, Ronnie Mauricio, back-to-back nights with a game-tying home run, hitting that long homer in the ninth. And then, unfortunately, Gregory Soto, newest Met, comes in. Bad throw to second, and that was the difference right there. Elias Diaz, 2 outs, base hit, game over. And, of course, Candelita scored the game-winning run. What would be the first Mets-Padres game of the season without Jose Iglesias coming home as the winning run? I mean, that was written in stone. You could have predicted that one. You're watching Mets Daily. I'm your host, Jake Brown, at Jake Brown Live. Smash that thumbs up in this video. Hit that subscribe button below. Remember, I do not make the headlines, so don't complain about the headlines, please. I have nothing to do with it. Fan art says that. Yes, we're in a world where clicks matter. You know, that you get paid based off clicks. So, of course, clicks do matter, but I have nothing to do with the headlines. So don't get mad at me at that. I don't do that. So just want to put that out there, and make sure you follow me, Jake Brown Live, and become a Mets Daily Insider member. Just $5 a month. Forget about the headlines. Just enjoy the content of the videos. You know, if you're coming just for a headline, then you're maybe the problem of our generation. If you're just going to things for headlines, you should come for good content, and we bring you good content every day. And become an insider. We'll do a watch party tomorrow for the Mets Padres game to insiders, to members only. Cheaper than a cup of coffee. Well, got a rebound today. Sean Manaea in the hill against Berger, and you know, Sean Manaea's looked good so far. Frankie Montas was good, but when he was starting to implode, the Mets should have been ready there with a Rico Garcia. And if it's Brazoban, fine, but should have been in a batter earlier, and I thought that was the difference. And that's what the Mets need to shore up, and we'll talk about that and a name that could work in just a bit of a guy that would help them shore up that middle of the bullpen and bullpen in general, because you'd rather not see the Brazobans of the world anymore. And Rico Garcia, oddly enough, has probably become more reliable than Brazoban. And who would have thought we'd ever see that? But that's the case right now. Rico Garcia's looked really good. Brazoban, you know, some nights he's good, some nights he's bad. You never know what you're going to get out of him. But Mark Vientos, man, this guy right here, like, Mets are in a tough spot. Big homer. He talked about before the game, I haven't been playing much. I thought that was a terrible thing from him to say. You know, bro, you're not playing because you're stinking. You haven't been good. So that's where you think Swaggy V said he was humbled. I don't think he's been humbled. And I do think the Mets are still going to try to move him despite that home run. I didn't think it was smart for him to say that. You could look up the quotes. He said it wasn't anything that bad, but you haven't been good. You don't deserve to play when you haven't been good. So he can't be complaining about playing time when he knows how much competition's around him. And he sees what Ronnie Mauricio is doing. He sees what Brett Beatty's doing. Bro, you shouldn't be playing. I mean, if you were a go-glove third baseman, fine. You're not. So I didn't think that was very smart. And Mets fans and Mets lady fans are going to have to live with the fact they may still trade him despite the grand slam. Now, one guy I don't think they should trade him for is Luis Robert. You know, I think Vientos should be the headline of a package that brings you someone in control past the next 2 months. Get yourself a Steven Kwan, so a starter that's under control. The White Sox reportedly want a top 10 prospect from a team for Luis Robert Jr. And you know the Phillies are the other team in this. So the Mets and Phillies are going to be duking it out here, it feels like, for Luis Robert Jr. You know, Blade Tidwell is currently the Mets' 10th ranked prospect. I think Mets fans would walk Blade Tidwell to the airport if they could move Blade Tidwell for Luis Robert. That's a deal I would do. Robert, obviously in high demand because, you know, the upside that he has. And listen, the guy has been good the last couple of weeks. He's been a good hitter. He's been putting up better numbers. over the last 6 weeks, 6 homers, 19 RBIs, and 853 OPS in the past 28 games. He's got a lot of buyers considering the Mets and Phillies probably at the top there. I would do Tidwell. Listen, I'd probably do Ewing, AJ Ewing, another top 10 Mets prospect. I would probably not do a Sproat or a McLean for a Robert. I wouldn't do Vientos for a Robert. I wouldn't do Jet Williams. The other guys I probably would. If you said it's Ewing and a low-level prospect for Robert, I say yes. Tidwell, low-level prospect for Robert, I say yes. What deal would you do? Let us know in the comments below. Is there a trade that's off limits for Robert? Do you not want him? I know a lot of Mets fans saying, hey, I don't really have that much interest in him. And I understand both sides of the story here, but I do think for the right price, I am interested. Considering, hey, if he does tear the cover off the ball, maybe you give him that option. And if he doesn't, you give the $2 million buyout and say sayonara. But I think the Mets do need a boost. He is a really good defensive center fielder. He does steal a lot of bases, and he does have more power than what they're putting out there. So his OPS will be better than what they're putting out there. He'll play, better defense than McNeil. Probably a little bit less of a defender than Taylor, if not than even. And he's got more speed than both of them. So I'm intrigued. But again, if we're talking top 10 prospects, Blade Tidwell is the guy you want to move. The question is, will the Phillies say, hey, we'll give you someone better? And, can the Mets sweeten the package and maybe say, hey, we'll, pay the buyout, we'll pay the remainder, we'll give you another prospect. How will that work? But Mets aren't the only team interested. But again, Vientos, no. One of the top pitchers, no. But Tidwell, Ewing, yes, I would give that up for Luis Robert. And someone like Vientos would make sense for a guy like Ryan Helsley. Ryan Helsley, the Mets and Yankees are reportedly two of the top suitors right now for Ryan Helsley. This is a dynamic pitcher. This is a guy that is a 2-time All-Star. Most recently is last year. He's got a 3 ERA and 36 innings this year. You see the numbers on the screen. 2.04 last year in a career high, 66 and a third innings. 2.45 the year before. 1.25 and 64 and two-thirds innings in 2022. I mean, this guy the last 4 years has been one of the best pitchers on the planet when it comes to the bullpen. And, he has saves this year. 21 this year, 49 last year. This guy is a save machine. So if there's a night they can't use Diaz, hey, you got a good option, number 2, in Ryan Helsley. I think the Mets got to do what they can to try to get a deal done here. This is the kind of pitcher that you transform your bullpen, and you start to salivate at a bullpen that would be Edwin Diaz, Ryan Helsley, Brooks Raley, Gregory Soto, Ryan Stanek. That's your first 5. Not to mention someone like a Jose Budo. So you got to start thinking about who are my playoff big 5. And if your playoff big 5 are Helsley, Diaz, Raley, Soto, Stanek, that's 5 real major league pitchers. And it's a bullpen that you feel pretty comfortable with. Not to mention Budo, not to mention Rico Garcia if he sticks around. So that's a playoff bullpen that you can go up against teams and other teams will be fearing you. Now, he's an expiring contract, $8.2 million this year. He'll be a free agent last year of arbitration. He's probably going to get a good money contract in the offseason. Hey, if he likes it here, the Mets maybe consider bringing him back. We'll see. We know the situation with Edwin Diaz. Edwin Diaz is a potential opt-out. Do they say, hey, we're going to move on from Diaz and bring back Helsley? I don't know if they would do that. Helsley might get similar money to Diaz. I don't know if that makes all the sense in the world. But if you're the New York Mets and you want to talk about an impact reliever, Gregory Soto is good and dandy. He blew a game last night. But you got to think about aiming high. And this is the tier A, the top tier relief market. This guy, Ryan Helsley, is on it. So I think Mets fans would be fine with trading a Blade Tidwell for Luis Robert and maybe a Vientos and maybe is a Sproat for Helsley. It might take that. But if you're the Mets, you got to be all in here to try to win and all in to improve this bullpen because last night was the perfect example of this bullpen and the struggles that they have in that middle relief. Like, that was a sweat. That was a 5-1 lead that evaporated way too quickly. And, you also got to think about starting pitcher. We'll talk about that tomorrow. We're 2 days away here from the trade deadline. We got you covered throughout the whole way. I'm excited really to not be talking about rumors and this and that. I know it does well. It's exciting to think about what we'll have, but I'm looking forward to seeing what the roster is when the Mets return home to Citi Field on Friday against the Giants. They should have a couple of new players, and by tomorrow's show, there may be a few more. Now, it's a 4 o'clock game tomorrow, so we'll try and get a show out either after the game or we'll get one out in the morning for you. But we'll see with the Marlins. We've heard rumors with the Marlins as well. Edward Cabrera, Sandy Alcantara, Anthony Bender. Do the Mets end up with one or two of those pitchers from the Marlins? It's going to be fascinating to watch. I'm Jake Brown, at Jake Brown Live. Smash that thumbs up in the video. Follow me. Subscribe below. Become a Mets Daily Insider right there. Scan that code for $5 a month. We'll do a watch party tomorrow for our members. If you pay the $5 a month, a weekend video, giveaway coming. Thanks for the support of Mets Daily. We'll talk to you tomorrow. It's getting hot at the hot stove right now. Here before trade deadline, 6 p.m. Thursday. We got you covered right here on Mets Daily. Let's go Mets.